Ms. Miller, you've summoned the defendant, Mr. Wright, to court to prove to him that he is not your biological father, even though he has believed he's your father your entire life.
Yes, Your Honor.
The man you now say is your father is waiting in the hallway and will join us in court in a moment. Mr. Wright, it was only 2 weeks ago that your daughter revealed to you that you may not be her father. You are 100% certain that you fathered Ms. Miller and plan to prove it in court today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Miller, how is it that 2 different men are in court believing that they're your father?
I was raised around both men, but mainly around Mr. Wright. I spent most time with Mr. Wright. I used to go over to his house twice out the month, and I hardly spent any time with Mr. Wright. So up until the age of me being a teenager, I called both of them Dad. And once I found out, which was the day where my mom and my grandmother was in the bedroom, and I said I wanted to go to my dad's house, Mr. Wright. So my mom, her back was turned to me, and she said, I don't know who your dad is, and that she believed more so that Mr. Wright is than Mr. White is. And I've known this since I was a teenager. So at this point, I feel selfish because I continue to call both Mr. Wright and Mr. White my dad, and neither of them knew of each other until 2 weeks ago.
Neither men knew of the other one. So, Ms. Miller, tell me exactly what happened 2 weeks ago.
Well, like I said before, I felt selfish because I didn't tell either of them, but I had to build up the nerve to actually call them, and I addressed both of them. Hey, Dad, and I took a deep breath, and I was like, I want you to prove that you're my dad. And Mr. White got quiet, and I asked him again, I was like, I really want to know because I don't know. And then I said, my mom told me that she doesn't really know who my father is.
So pretty much, you've been living a lie for 30 years.
Yes.
And you were told as a child you had 2 fathers.
Yes, Your Honor. It felt normal to me to call both Mr. Wright and Mr. White my dad. It felt
well,
normal.
listen, we have lots of blended families where there's a stepfather, there's a, father. People call more than one person dad, but what it sounds like, which is so confusing for a child, is you were told that you had 2 biological fathers.
Yes, Your Honor.
Which we know is impossible.
It's not possible, right.
Mr. White, Ms. Miller's 30 years old. You weren't aware all of these years?
Nope.
That she was calling another man dad as well?
Nope, I don't even know who he is.
So the entire relationship, this is your little girl. This is your daughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
When you got this call 2 weeks ago, what did you feel like?
When I got that phone call, I was wondering, where would you get this from out of 30 years? If she can find out that I'm not her father out of 30 years, somebody could have told me. And I was with her mother every night. When she was born, I was with her mother 8 years after she was born. So I'm trying to figure out, how did he get in the Miller?
And you still have no real information.
I still don't believe.
You've never seen this other man.
I know not as I know about him.
So you lived as a family this whole time?
Right, exactly.
Until she was 8 years old.
I didn't know that. My memory is kind of guarded, but I don't remember actually living, and I probably did because
my heart just breaks for you because I see you still trying to make sense of this. And I'm wondering, as a child, how is it that they were kept apart? How did you manage that? I mean, you had things at school, did you not?
No, well.
How did that happen that they weren't both there?
I think he probably wasn't invited to anything because she was dating him or he wasn't, and vice versa. I think that she kept them apart, which kept me knowing that, okay, I go over here, I don't mention this dad. I go over there, I don't mention
And
this
you knew
dad.
that as a child?
Yes.
Was that explained to you point blank, out in the open, this is how we do it? Or was it unwritten, unsaid, and you just knew?
It was unwritten. It's like a habit you pick up. Like once you see, I saw my mom talking to one, you were forbidden to say the other's name. So what I did as a child was just picked up on what I saw.
I'm baffled. But what would happen on Father's Day? Your mother would just have you call both men?
Well, on Father's Day, I never really had Mr. White's number like that. I didn't call him all the time, and he never had my number. I do want to apologize to Mr. White because I knew exactly where he was. But for so long, I just kept telling myself, you know, Mr. Wright is my father, and I hid from it.
So what you did consciously or unconsciously is you put a wall up
Yes.
between you and Mr. White.
Yes.
Once you began to truly feel that Mr. Wright was your biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
I think it's time we meet this other gentleman. Will you please escort him into the courtroom? Thank you for joining us, Mr. Wright. How do you feel hearing this right now?
I'm stunned.
Have you ever seen or met Mr. White?
No, no ma'am. No, young.
You do realize at this point, Mr. Wright, that Mr. White believed over the last 30 years that he is Miss Miller's biological father.
I'm her father. I've been in her life for 30 years.
See, that's the thing. I feel like I've been living a double life because I don't even have like social sites now. Because if I do like family barbecues, which I spend a lot of time with Mr. Wright's side of the family, from barbecues to parties, birthdays, and I don't do that with Mr. White for the sole purpose of other family members on Mr. White's side. You know, I didn't want them to run back and tell him, like, who is this man? Miranda's calling her dad, or to raise a lot of drama. So I just completely just close all social sites. I don't do any of that for that purpose.
So you're living a double life. It's almost as if you're in hiding.
Yeah.
And is it because you don't want to hurt either side?
My thing is that I love them both, so I'm afraid of the outcome. I don't want to hurt anybody, and I keep telling myself it's not your fault, it's not your fault. But I feel like I am partially to blame because once I was old enough to say, okay, Mr. White, there's a possibility you're not my dad, or I could have came to Mr. Wright, which I see him often, and told him that you're not my dad, or it's a possibility there's another man. I haven't done any of that because just scared, I guess. Just scared of the truth because, like I said before, I'm closer to his side of the family.
These people are your family.
Yeah.
And so I understand how you feel, and you are right. It's not your fault. Now, Mr. Wright, I've asked Mr. White the same thing, but I want to know from you, when you got that call 2 weeks ago, what did you think?
I was shocked. I was very shocked.
And you had no idea, none.
No, young. No, young.
30 years.
30 years.
This is your daughter.
Yeah, this is my daughter.
So tell me about the relationship you had with her growing up.
Well, her grandmother called me, told me, you got a daughter. So when I got to the house, her grandmother brought her down the steps. I grabbed her and held her. And she held me back tight. Ever since then, that's my baby. That's my baby.
Now, Mr. White, you didn't know she had a relationship with Mr. Wright.
No, I didn't, Your Honor.
And you say you were there through the pregnancy.
Yes, Your Honor, I was.
Neither one of them are on my birth certificate. And I asked Mr. White. Mr. White said that he thought it was a possibility that I wasn't his child.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, maybe I heard wrong.
No, I didn't say that. You always been my child. All 30 years. And I'll never say that.
But now she's in court today to prove you are not her biological father. Because it's true, you believe Mr. Wright is your biological father.
Yes, Your Honor. I look so much like his entire family. From my grandmother to my auntie, his entire family looks just like me. The freckles, everything. We just look so much alike, the nose. And I mean, I just believe in me being around him so much.
She's my daughter. She looked just like my mom. She looked just like my mom.
What is that evidence you're presenting to me, sir? This is a photo of Ms. Miller
Yes, ma'am.
And your mother.
Yes, Your Honor.
You see the resemblance too, Ms.
Yes,
Miller.
Your
you
Honor,
do.
everything. I see it all.
When you look at that, Mr. White, do you see a resemblance?
Yeah, I do.
But you also submitted another photo to the court because you said you also feel like you look like Mr. White.
Yeah. Oh, wow, I never seen it side by side like that.
And you see a resemblance there as well.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you see a resemblance, Mr. Wright, of this photo of Ms. Miller and Mr. White?
Yes, the nose.
This is truly remarkable. Now, we talk a lot in this courtroom about, well, don't go on resemblance. But that was remarkable to look at a
Right,
side by
that's what
side
I never saw me and
of
Mr.
you
White, yeah.
and also of his mother. Do you feel like you're here trying to prove that Mr. Wright is your biological father because you do have a closer connection with his family?
I think I'm here now to seek my truth because I feel once I do find out the truth, I don't need their help. I will move forward and push to build a relationship with whomever it turns out to be.
I first commend you for having the strength, 30 years old, just to come stand here and seek your truth. I have to say, though, this is one of the most amazing cases we've ever seen in this courtroom. I'm overwhelmed. I can only imagine what that must feel like for you.
God, my heart is racing. I'm so nervous because now, that's why I said I'm here to seek my truth, because once seeing both of those pictures, I'm like, wow, I don't even know, like, in my heart anymore. Well, in my heart, I feel like Mr. Wright is my dad. But like my gut, my mind, everything is just like, it's in the air.
I think we've waited long enough, and it's time for the result. You agree? Before I read these, I have to ask both gentlemen, and I want to thank you too for being so respectful to one another today, and to Ms. Miller. This is a very difficult and emotional situation, and I see how much you both love her and the way you've conducted yourself today in this courtroom. I've really appreciated this. I have to ask you, though, are you prepared, Mr. White, for a negative result? If it's determined you are not her biological father, have you prepared your mind and your heart for that?
Yes, Your Honor. If it make her happy, I'm happy.
How about you, Mr. Wright? Have you prepared yourself for a negative result? Do you believe there's any possibility you could not be her biological father? And if so?
That's my baby.
Well, let's get to the results. Yes. They were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Miller, Wright versus White, when it comes to whether Mr. Wright or Mr. White is the biological father of 30-year-old Miranda Miller, it has been determined by this court, Ms. Miller's biological father is Mr. White.
It's all right.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I feel so bad for him. I'm sorry. God. Oh, God.
Mr. Wright, I'm so sorry. I know that was not the news you wanted or expected.
Oh, my God. Wow. Oh, I do need to sit down.
Mr. Wright, are you okay? Can you just breathe?
No. 30 years. That's my baby. No matter what, she's still my baby.
Oh my God.
She's still my daughter.
I'm sorry.
You welcome. If you'd like to go down and sit, you may.
See, I'm... This is so hard.
You came here today, Miss Miller, because you needed the truth. But let's make one thing clear. That in no way changes
Right.
the love you have for Mr. Wright, his family, the connection you have. This double life, this needed to end today. Mr. Taylor, you say that you had a whirlwind 2-week romance with the defendant, and after it ended, she called to tell you that she was pregnant with your child. You say another man was at the hospital for the baby's birth, and therefore your DNA test will come back negative. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Orr, you say you are insulted that Mr. Taylor is even asking for a paternity test. You feel Mr. Taylor is just trying to dodge his responsibility, and you are confident you will prove he is your child's father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Taylor, you claim this is not the first time you've tried to get a DNA test from the defendant.
Yes, Your Honor.
Explain.
I have tried to get a DNA test from the moment I found out about Eric, and she has denied it, dodged it every which way she can. Like, she's argued with me, said that he looks just like me. Why would I need DNA?
Ms. Orr, are you trying to avoid the DNA test for Eric?
No, Your Honor. I believe that Michael, if he wants a DNA test, he needs to get it done, not me. It's not my job. And Eric does look like Mr. Taylor.
She's lying, Your Honor.
No, I'm not, Your Honor.
All right, take me back. I want to understand how this relationship started.
Well,
Where
we
did you
had
meet?
started dating on offline. I met her offline.
What's that mean? You're on a dating
website.
site?
Dating
Dating
website.
website.
Okay,
June
and then you all
14th.
decided to meet in person.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. June 14th.
Okay, and so you had sex with Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Unprotected sex?
Yes,
After meeting on a dating site?
Yes.
And meeting for the first time?
Yes.
You all know you wrong. Mr. Taylor, you said the relationship lasted 2 weeks.
Yes, Your Honor.
And how many times did you have sex within that 2-week span?
I had sex with her for like that week, and I had sex with her a couple more times the next week. And then...
He kept coming back. We done slept with each other maybe more than 10 times.
No, Your Honor.
10 times in 2
Then that's when I found out I was
No,
pregnant.
Your Honor.
Was Mr. Taylor the only man you were intimate with, Ms. Orr?
There's other men, but at the time, Mr. Taylor was the only one that I slept with when I was off my birth control.
No, Your Honor.
During when I got pregnant around August, Your Honor.
Okay. Take me to the moment where you realized you're pregnant.
I realized when I was pregnant when I went to my doctor's appointment, September the 1st
Okay.
of 2016.
And when you realize you're pregnant, do you tell Mr. Taylor? Do you call him? Are you all
Yes, I
still even
call.
in contact?
No, Your
I
Honor.
call
We
him.
were
I
not in
contact him through Facebook to let him know I'm pregnant.
No, she
So
did
wait
not
a minute,
contact
by
me
the
through
time you
Facebook to
find-
let me know she was pregnant. She called me over the phone to tell me she was pregnant. Okay, then again,
That's when Mr.
I had
Taylor
asked for
hollered
DNA.
for a DNA test.
Did you say the baby is yours or it could be yours?
Could be yours.
No,
Could be.
It is
No,
yours.
Your Honor. She
Yes.
has done nothing but sit here and tell me this is
No.
nothing but my
No.
child. I have been here. She has ran from the DNA. If it's such doubt and everything, if he is mine, why do you run from a DNA test? I do not
Mr.
know.
Taylor also told me to take him to court. That's why we're here today, because I'm the one taking him to court.
I would
Find out
never
the
have
proof
doubted
for
him
my
if I
son.
did not have other possibilities.
Well,
Richard.
Mr.
Never
Taylor,
doubted
hold on, but I gotta give her credit. Ms. Orr did show up today, and that's not an easy thing to do, because I'm gonna ask the tough questions, and I'm gonna demand answers. So, You just said two different things standing right here in this courtroom, Ms. Orr. You said, I told him it could be, then you said, I told him it is. Which one is it?
It is.
Mr. Taylor, do you remember the story going that way?
She told me it was mine, yes, but I did not agree to them terms, no, because I myself knew of 3 other different possibilities.
No,
she had
there's
been
no
with.
other three.
It's conception, not a contract. Jerome, he said he did not agree to those terms, okay?
Okay.
So at that moment, what you're saying is you did not believe that you were the only possible father.
I did not mean
Did you believe, Mr. Taylor, you were one of the possible fathers?
I did.
When did you find out the baby was born?
I found out the baby was born a week after.
Oh, a
baby
week after
already
the baby
being
was
here.
born.
Right.
So wait a minute, Ms. Orr. Now you're certain Mr. Taylor is your child's biological father. You go into labor and you don't even give him a call. You give him.
Exactly.
You
There
reach
was
out on
another-
Facebook to say, "I'm pregnant with your baby." You don't reach out on Facebook to say, "I'm having your baby right now."
Everything happened so fast. I
No,
had
Your
health
Honor.
problems.
You didn't.
My son was born 6 weeks early, and I was gonna wait till Eric got out the hospital.
Okay, but
No, Your
still,
Honor.
it took a whole week
Yes.
for you to get in contact with him.
Yes, he's
For you to
lucky,
tell
he's lucky
any-
that I even told him because he wasn't there during the pregnancy or none of my doctor's appointments.
Okay, so wait.
I wasn't there because she had told me about the other possibilities that could be Eric's dad.
Oh, what
No.
did she tell you about other possibilities,
You got
Mr.
no proof.
Taylor?
Because I was told by the nurse there was another man in her room.
That was a
when
friend
she had
guy.
this child.
Really?
He was a friend guy.
Was this a friend you've been intimate with in the past?
No,
So why is he up at the hospital?
because he supposed to been like the godfather of my son.
How did you have time to notify the godfather and not the biological father?
A family member contact my friend.
You're accusing him of not being there, and yet you are blocking him from being there at the most important moment. I don't understand.
Because the nurses was talking to me at the time. I couldn't really talk to my family members.
The nurses were talking to you for a week straight?
Telling me everything, pretty much.
I don't know if she testifying right now or testifying, but we'll see in a minute.
Your Honor, I have
What is
evidence
that you're
right
holding
here.
up, Mr. Taylor?
This is evidence from where I had first found out about Eric.
Let me see that
And
evidence. Jerome, will you hand it to me, please?
I was in the hospital with Eric when I first went to meet him.
This one says, little surprise for who didn't know. Met my son Eric for the first time tonight. So blessed. Keep negativity to yourself. And this
Your
is
Honor.
you holding baby Eric.
Your Honor.
And then the next one you say, father like son with a heart. And you're holding the baby.
Right, Your Honor, that was on her Facebook.
And then the next one says, love my son.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then
because
the next one says, first time me feeding him. So, Mr. Taylor, I will say this. The posts you put on Facebook, they looked like you do want to be a part of this child's life. If you are the biological father, you intend to be a part of baby Eric's life?
I've been here since I found out about him. I was not raised up with my dad. I did not know of my dad until I was 14 years old. I don't think any child deserves to grow up without a dad. For the fact that she did not tell me until Eric was a week old, I am unbelievably shocked. I do not know why. I do not know why I deserve it.
What I want to understand is, you're at the hospital, you take these beautiful photos,
Right.
post them up. What happens at the hospital that would make you retract all of this?
For the fact of she had made me have doubt that he was not mine.
How did she give you that doubt?
Because she told me to take the pictures of her son off Facebook. Your Honor, she's basically harassed me that this is nothing but my child. I have known from day one, this is your child. She has messaged me constantly, this is your child. Why won't you answer the phone for your child?
Yes, I
And
have.
then you
She
put the
has
pictures
said,
up of
hey.
your child and she tells you to take them
Right.
down. Oh, so Miss Orr, wait a minute now. You are maintaining here in court that he is the biological father. Why would you tell him to take the pictures of your son down?
Because
Isn't it your son together?
Because Mr. Taylor, he will still haul a DNA test. I'm sitting there going to the hospital every night with Eric, staying there, feeding him, making sure he gets well and get out of the hospital. He's in a NICU, 6 weeks early. And then Mr. Taylor sit here, his DNA. Oh, I love my son. That makes That's funny right there, because you put that stuff on Facebook. You sit there and take
I yell
pictures
for
with
DNA like I
with
did
Eric on
because-
Facebook. You take pictures with him and then put them on Facebook talking about, oh, I love my son and all this. Which one is it? You want a DNA or do you want to be in Eric life?
What is that you're holding up right there?
It is a picture of a comparison that she had sent me of me
Let me see that, Jerome.
and Eric and another possibility of the other guy to Eric.
That's you on the bottom right. That's baby
Right.
Eric in the corners.
Yes, Your Honor.
And another man is on the top left.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why do you send them a collage of pictures with the baby and another man?
To let him know Eric does not look like another man.
Where'd you pull this man out of? Thin air?
No, Your Honor. That is one of my ex.
Your Honor, the
Okay.
reason why I've been
So-
asking for DNA.
Okay. And this is someone Mr. Taylor was accusing you of having sex with as well. And he was saying that this could possibly be baby Eric's biological father.
Yes.
I mean, look, that picture was not going to help the situation. It didn't. I'm sure it only fueled your doubt at that point.
Your Honor, she has went as far as like saying the child had a crooked penis. And I have a crooked penis. She asked me if I had one. I said yes. She said, so how can you deny that this is your son? So she said,
All I
how
have
is
to
there
say is
any
I hope
denying
nobody
that?
brought an exhibit.
Your Honor, my son could not get circumcised because he was over 90 degrees.
Miss Orr, did you say that your baby has a crooked penis? And that was a point of proof.
No, Your Honor, not a point
She's
of
lying,
proof.
Your Honor.
To let him know that his son is going to be having surgery in August.
Then why would she ask?
Is that how you took it, Mr. Taylor?
Why would she ask? Why would she ask?
Well, I thought she would know,
Right?
but I ain't one to gossip. Did you think it was a way to avoid the DNA test again? I think is what I really want to know.
Yes, Your
Is
Honor.
that what you're, because you have maintained in this case, she has avoided this test at every cost until now.
Yes.
So do you feel like that was the last ditch effort to say, now look, you know the baby has this physical characteristic, and do you? Yes, you do. Okay, now. That's what you're thinking?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Well, the court wanted to know, honestly, whether or not this physical characteristic is something that could be tied to genetics. So we'd like to call upon an expert right now. Jerome, can you please escort Dr. Eddie Richardson Jr. into the courtroom, please? Thank you.
Hello, doctor.
Hello, doctor.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us today. We are here discussing the paternity of baby Eric. And his mother has indicated that the child was born with a certain characteristic, and it would be a crooked penis.
Okay.
She then asked the potential father if he possessed the same characteristic. The father indicated that he did. This led the court to ask, what is this? How does it happen? And is it linked to genetics?
Okay. Okay. Well, there's actually two different conditions we're talking about here.
Okay.
One actually happens in babies and infants, and the other one happens in older adults. So the first one is chordase, which actually happens in infants, which is actually a structural and a developmental problem. The Parietals disease actually occurs in adolescents and older men. That's from microtrauma. Both have a little bit of a genetic component, but it's sort of when they're developing, so it's a small component.
So if the father and the son are both born with it, is it an indicator of paternity?
Based on my medical opinion, it would be highly unlikely, but possible, because the one is more of a structural problem that's actually occurring, and they haven't been able to conclude with any real evidence that both of these are going to cause this. But there are some, as I said, on the structural problem, the underlying connective tissue problem, which would be a genetic problem. But based on just a curvature of a penis, it would be hard for me to determine paternity from that.
Not impossible, but not necessarily an indicator.
Right. I would agree with that.
Understood. Well, Ms. Orr, do you still stand by the fact that Mr. Taylor is your child's biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
No other possibilities?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Taylor, do you still stand by your position that you believe you are not baby Eric's biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
Nothing you've heard in this testimony today has changed your mind?
No, Your Honor.
I think we're ready for the results. Jerome?
Yes. Go, Your Honor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Taylor versus Orr, when it comes to 6-week-old Eric Orr, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Taylor, you are not the father.
Get me out
Calm
of here.
down, Mr. Taylor. I know this was disappointing. I could tell from the pictures you had formed a bond with the baby.
I wish I never knew her. I don't see how that's just never.
So
see how
even
that's
though you
possible.
had doubts, it is obvious you were coming here hoping to be wrong.
Right.
But you were right to have questions. Ms. Orr, do you have something you'd like to say?
I'm sorry that I got your hopes up that Eric was yours.
And I will say this, Ms. Orr. This courtroom exists because too often the mothers keep secrets about other possibilities that lead to this level of sadness, confusion, and real trauma. I mean, Mr. Taylor is very affected, and I can see that. Do you know who Eric's biological father is?
No, Your Honor.
Is there any chance it was your ex, the other guy in the picture?
Possibly.
Okay.